Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon for those on the East Coast. My name is Lori Lytle, and today is Mortgage Coaches Training Thursday. So what I want to show you today is a total cost analysis for a refinance. So we're going to cover the refinance process, how to enter a current mortgage, and just talk about comparisons here. And I do, in this particular sample, I just have a fixed rate and I have a 5/1 ARM. So if there's any type of products you want to see placed in here, if it's a particular ARM, you want to see FHA, go ahead and put it in the question area. And when we develop this refinance, I could just show you how to key in those type of products so, it's beneficial for you to understand how to create those products. Also with that, we'll go in and work with the reinvestment strategy screen. So we'll be able to see how we can put in reduction payments or apply money toward a savings or an investment account. So we'll work with this screen as well. And let's go ahead and get started. First off, for GoToMeeting, if you look in the chat area, we have quite a few links for our webpage, the downloads for RateWatch. If you haven't downloaded the mobile app for RateWatch, definitely get that going. It's a great tool. It uses the same login and password as you do in Edge. And the other thing I want you to do is go ahead and open up the question area, and that's how we're going to communicate. So anytime at all, as we're going through this process, if you have any questions, put them in that question box, and I'll go ahead and address them as we go. So let's go ahead and log into Edge, and if you haven't logged into Edge, it's just your company email address, first time through, pass123 is the password. If you're not sure how to get it in or what your password is, just email us at support, and we could go ahead and reset that for you. So coming into our Edge screen, first let's go ahead and see the number of hands of how many people have gone into Edge and created at least 5 reports. So if you've created 5 reports, go ahead and put your hand up. This way I know what kind of, okay, all right, Susan, you've done 5. This is great. Got quite a few people. Dion, Jim, Laura, Cheryl, great. We've done 5 reports. So once you start, especially with you, you've been in there, you might have some questions. I might, as you're going through something, I'm not quite sure of this field, what it does. Please, this is the time to ask any of those kind of questions. So again, just go ahead and put them in that question box. So let's go ahead and talk about refinances and how you'll be able to enter those into the system. I'm going to go ahead and start a new client to start our TCA off. So if you're following along, just go ahead and click on New Client, and you can create the report with me. And let's go ahead, and we have Susan Jones. I know I got to work on my names here, huh? So just put in a generic name, or if you have something, just run the sample with me to get an idea. So we're going through, I'm just putting in the word refi, and my descriptor, I'm just doing Thursday training. What this friendly name field is, it's a reference if you've heard us talk about it. This is like, putting in Thursday training, it identifies me. It's not just a refi, but I'm using this on my Thursday training class. So it gives you more of an idea of that friendly name field. So what I'm going to do is just go through and create the, use the basic fields. So as we go through, if you have any questions on the screens I'm not touching, let me know. So I'm going to leave this screen blank. You only have to mark purchase a new home if you're doing a purchase transaction. I'm not doing one, so I'm going to go ahead and continue. But for those of you, you can mark these items here if you're doing a refinance as you're talking to a client, just to be able to have that information for your records. So here's our assumption screens to talk about the current mortgage. So say they had a payment of $1,500. If you put the payment in here, all it is a display. So I'm really going to dive into all the fields in the refinance so you can really understand it. So if I take a lot of time, that is the reasoning for it. When you're talking to a client, a lot of times they'll give you your payment. Sometimes it might be taxes and insurance. It might be PITI. You might not know if this is the true figure. So I just wanted to point that out. So what is the purchase price or appraised property value as of today? So let's go ahead and say that it was $350,000 today. but it was originally appraised at $300,000, say. So the reason we have current, and then we have the original appraisal, and the reason for this is, am I on the current mortgage? We'll go off the LTV on the original appraised value, not on the current. So that's why I wanted to point out that original appraised value and current payoff total. For right now, I'm going to leave this empty. And then once we create our refinance, our current mortgage, I'll come back and we'll discuss this field a little bit more. So now let's move on to our next screen. And now we're going to be filling out all this refinance information. And first I'm going to go ahead and put in the original information, and then we'll come back and start talking about it. So first I'm saying that they took out a loan in January, first payment was January 11th, 2011. And at that time, they had a loan amount of $300,000. Interest rate at that time, I would say, is we'll just do 5.5, and a term of 360. You'll see once I've keyed in this information, at that point, once I had to press the return on the 360, the system then calculates the P&I payment. So you can see I was off a little bit when I guessed $1,500, just like the clients might be saying different numbers than you expect. And then it also provides the remaining balance. This remaining balance is based off of if they made the exact payments according to the amortization schedule. So sometimes, you might say, well, that's not the balance I have. And the reason for it could be that the borrower has a late payment or maybe prepaid the mortgage. So if that's the case and you look at this and you know the remaining balance is really around $260 because that's what the client told you, you could go ahead and override that amount and put in that correct outstanding balance. So this will take account any of special terms or anything that the borrower did in the aspect of paying down that house. The other question people have on this screen is the payment. Well, that's not the payment that they told me. It's a different number. And sometimes you don't really have all the exact rate or the original loan amount. So the way you can't change it here, because if you put in the P&I payment here, it wouldn't match the criteria above. So what you would want to do is say they weren't quite sure of the interest rate, but they knew the payment and they knew their starting balance. So at that point, you could just play around with it. Unfortunately, if the borrower doesn't have all that information for you, you could try, let's do a little bit higher rate. Okay, whoops. You can see the number, how it changed. It also reset my remaining balance. I could go lower, thinking maybe, depending on the payment. But you can see how you can work these numbers depending on what is the unknown with the borrower. If they know their interest rate but wasn't quite sure of the original balance, then you can work with this. Whoops. And then work with the payment. So the one I know when we get questions and tickets through our support desk, this is when we're talking about refinances. The P&I payment is really what they're trying to reach, and that's always the struggle, and they're not understanding. So just let you know, you just go ahead and modify the figures, especially when they're unknown, to get that payment. So let's put this back at 5.5. Are there any questions in the screen before I move on? Because I know it's a little tricky. So, okay, so now let's go. I'm going to go back and talk about balance. So currently, if they have paid everything exact according to their payment schedule, their remaining balance is at $282. This is what we use for our cash to close. If I move back a screen, we have current total payoff amount. Sometimes what people have done is want to put a payoff amount within 2 months out, meaning they've already made a couple more payments. So really the true payoff amount would be this. So if that was the case, let's see what that amount, 282. You could put in that true amount here. So let's say it would be 280. Then what will happen, if you have any figure in this field at all, it will use this figure for your cash to close. And this is the really big item. We get a lot of people who are saying, my cash closes off and I can't figure out my numbers are right. And it's because of this field, because this is the payoff amount in the future that you had put in maybe a couple months out. So if you don't want to use that, always want to use the outstanding balance, leave this field empty. That is completely fine. And the system will use the remaining balance as your payoff amount. So I hope that was clear. If you have any other questions on this, please put it in the question area, and we'll go through it a little bit more in detail. So let's next we move on, and a lot of times you might have the dollar amount. So you go ahead, and place in, maybe they're paying $55 for hazard, $120 for taxes each month, and the MI back then, let's say they had 6-7. You can always place that amount if you also have the dollar amount, you know what the MI is, you can place that monthly amount in there. Next, once we have everything, if you did have a second lien, you would go ahead and put in that information. So now we have our current mortgage all set and in the system, so let's continue on and let's develop our products. So I'm going to go ahead and not key in anything in here, but remember you can always key in data there, applies the debt to income ratio as well as a reinvestment strategy for your savings account. Now we're going to work on products. So no one's put any type of products that they want to see built in the question area. So right now I'm going to start with a conventional fixed. I'm going to do a 5-1 ARM, and you all know we could do 4 products. So if there's some kind of product out there you want to be able to see how to put in, let me know in the question area and I'll add that to our report. So let's go ahead and start out as conventional fixed. You want to mark it yes as a refinance, and you'll notice as soon as I mark it yes as a refinance, the labels change over to the left. And you see instead of the purchase price, we now have property value and the equity of the home as well as that base loan amount. So we have our base loan amount. Our new interest rate is 14, that's a big one, 4.5, and our term is 360. So at that point, I'm advancing the screen. Actually, let's go back one. If you have a product template at all, so look to see if you're on an enterprise account, you might have a product template. Go ahead and select it. It might have your monthly reserves in there. So if you do, go ahead and grab it. I'm going to go ahead and just work with the file. So how are you guys on fee templates? Do you guys all understand how to create fee templates? Do you want me to walk through that with you? Contributions, any of that with the fee template. So if you guys go ahead and respond in the question area or raise your hands if you want me to review fee templates and go ahead and create it. If you go ahead and do that. Okay, okay, John, you want to be able to, okay, quite a few. Okay, perfect. Then, okay, great, got a lot of it. Okay, so first, what I'm going to do with the fee templates is walk you through just the basic fee template. And if you're in the system, I encourage you, go through the keystrokes with me, understand how you'll be able to create that template. So here I have prepaid interest days. I'm putting in 15. And you can either lump sum your fees. Some people do this. Oh, seller contributions, I'll catch that too, Susan. You could go ahead and put in lump sums. You could say I have 1,500 APR, 1,200 non-APR. My prepaid escrows, which my reserves might be $2,000. So you could do it this way, and some people do, and that's quite fine. But you could create a fee template. So let's go into our closing cost details. And those of you who are on an enterprise account, if you already have fee templates built, but they're slightly off, I will show you how to modify it to make it customized for your company or your branch. So let's start fresh. So this is your closing cost screen. You have an option to, if you originate multiple states, you can create fee templates based on state, and then you'll have your drop-down of all your fee templates. Just to let you know, once you create a fee template, any additional fee templates goes really quick because we have a copy function. So you'll see the blue bar at the base. That provides a summary of your fees. So you can see so far we have 15 days of prepaid interest at $521. So that starts out our borrower fees. Now you have 2 buttons here. You have Add Fee, Add Custom Fee. So I'm clicking on Add Fee a couple times, and you'll see I have 2 line items. We have a description field a method. What the method is if you want to be able to put a percentage and have padding. So you could use both of those fields to get your total. You also have a place to indicate who's paying the field, if it's APR. Refinances, you could create refinance scenarios and be able to add all your fees to the loan amount, and that could be part of your default as well. And PPE, and this is a prepaid escrow. These are your reserves or items that are not a fee. So if you wanted to show earnest money, you could put this in. It would have to be marked as prepaid escrow because that is part of the short-term savings, shows all the unrecoverable costs. So earnest money is not a cost of the loan, is money that was brought in. So just to get an idea of that, and we'll cover that a little bit more when we create the templates. So let's start. If you haven't created a template, best way of doing it is printing a fee sheet from your LOS system, because a fee sheet usually has your descriptions, your dollar amount, as well as your total. So that's the best way to start. Now if you go to the description, say I had a processing fee. So if you click on that down arrow, you can see how we have quite a few fee descriptions in there. I type the letter P, find my processing fee, and select it. Let's put in that dollar amount. I'm going to say it's $4.95, and it is an APR fee, so I marked it as an APR. Next, let's do an appraisal fee. So if I type A for appraisal, I find my appraisal amount, and I put in the dollar amount for my appraisal, and leave it unchecked for APR. So we have fee descriptions that are within Edge and provided to you, but sometimes when you look at your fee sheets, the fee description might not match, and you want to be able to match exactly. So what you could do is click on Add Custom Fee, and this allows you to develop your own descriptions, your own items. Just to show you a couple things that I've seen, I've had some people, they want the HUD numbers on their fee descriptions, so they would go 801, lender origination fee. Even though we had lender origination fee, because they wanted that 801 in front, they created a custom fee. So I'm just going to label it custom fee. And actually, I could do earnest money since I've been talking about that. Earnest money. So with that, if you have a fee description, you put it in there. And you, in the instance with the earnest money, I'm going to mark it as a prepaid. Again, because it's not a cost, it's not a fee. And I press OK. You'll now have that fee description within your drop-down to be able to select on any of the loans. You also notice that it's been marked PPE, and so it will not be part of that short-term savings area on the report. And then at this point, you could go ahead and put in that dollar amount. And even though it won't offset the fees, what this is going to do is offset the down payment and such. So I hope it's, actually, I did an error. It needs to be a negative, everyone. Just one moment. Because you want to offset that cost. So you need to put it in as a negative. And the reason why you have to do it as a negative is because the system, that's a custom fee, we don't know it needs to be subtracted. So enter it as a negative, and it will reduce that balance on the loan. So that's one way. Just want to be able to point that one out for you, how to create a custom fee. So now if you want to do a contribution, let me go ahead and add, go into our add fees. And in our drop-down, if you type the letter C, we have a label called contribution. Oh, I'm glad you got that, Jim. That's good. So we have the contribution there. And our system, go ahead and put in that dollar amount. You could put it as a positive, and let me do that. You'll see that the fee, borrower paid fee, $14.91. Let's put in that positive, $1,000, and take a look at reduce that borrower amount, and it's applying that $1,000 to the lender. You can also apply it to seller, so you have the option to do that in your drop down here. So remember, if you use this field, you can use that field as a positive because we do have the logic behind the label, and that's the reasoning. Sometimes people want to do their own description for that contribution. That's fine. You could go ahead and put in seller contribution, and it will work the similar way as earnest money. So I'm going to go ahead and press OK. I have to because I created this. It's a label and it's custom to me, and there's no logic behind it. That is why you have to put in that negative amount. So I put in -1,000, and I'm leaving it to the borrower so that money will offset the borrower's costs. So that's the reason with that negative, and same with that earnest money. It's just to be able to set off the cost as well as down payments in instances like that. So do you have any questions on the contributions? If you do, just go ahead and put it in the chat box, and then we'll go ahead and address it. Okay. What I'm going to do now is, as you're building fee templates, you'll see in the lower right there's a button called Save as Templates. Go ahead and select that, and then, if you're doing an FHA loan, just put an FHA, whatever you want to name the template. I can't type today. I'm just going to go ahead and put a fee template, and I'm putting in today's date. Whoops, New Year. And so if you're originating in multiple states and want multiple fee templates, select the state here, and that's how you'll be able to control it. So press OK. And again, you saw me put a date in there. The only reason I put it is so you can identify the template I built today. You don't need a date on your templates. And I do that only because I see people have that on there, so I want to make sure. Okay, so now we've saved our template, built a template. The next product, when we work with fees, I'm going to show you how to take a pre-existing template, like if you're on an enterprise account, and modify it using this fee template that we just created. So that's what we'll do with the second product. Once you're done creating your fee template, you always want to apply it to the loan. So apply to loan, and you'll see how it totals the dollar amounts to APR costs and non-APR costs, and they're grayed out. So if you ever want to make any kind of modifications, go back into your closing cost details, make your modification, and then always apply to loan. Now also, if you have on an enterprise account and you did a product template selection, when we go into our monthly cost screens, you might have some reserves that are already populated for you, but they might not be for your state. So I'll show you how we could develop this screen, customize it for you so you're not having to modify this all the time. So for now, if you did pull down the template, modify your numbers, and I'll show you what we could do. My LTV, if you notice over to the right, is 80.57. I'm going to assume it's at 80. We would fix it. Obviously, we don't want MI for that little bit amount. So I'm not going to put MI on mine, but I did want to point out toward the right how you can check that LTV percentage really quickly. Next, let's go ahead and put in our numbers. So I'm going to say 0.35, and I'm putting my taxes at 1.25. No MI. But now let's do the reserves. So if you haven't done the reserves, or if you have reserves already created in your fee templates, delete them out of your fee templates and use this screen. So I have my monthly costs here. I'm putting in 2 months reserve, 4 months of taxes, and I'm not clicking a premium because it's a refinance. So if all, those who have been on this call before, let me, you've seen this before, but I'm showing everyone else. Once you have keyed in these numbers, but this is the trigger, your number of months. So once you've keyed in these number of months, let's move back to your fee screen. You'll notice prepaid escrows now have a dollar amount in here. And if you go into the closing cost templates, you'll now see you have your hazard reserves and your tax reserves populated and grayed out within the screen. So if you need to make any kind of changes with these numbers, it would be done in your monthly cost screen. Okay? So now that you've modified the template you had that was already provided to you and put in the number of months and reserves for your area, you want to save this product so you could use it again. And I suggest that you always, any new product, take the time and save it so you have it in your arsenal to make it go quicker through the drop-down. So save as template. It just takes the label from the first screen. I'm putting my date just so I'd be able to show you. And then press OK. That's how you'll be able to create it customized so you won't have to sit there and modify that, and really the screen could just not be touched sometimes. Okay, let's add another product. So I'm going to do a 5-1 arm, and if you have any questions on this, move it over or put it in the chat box. And this is another tricky area with products where we get questions in the support box. So I'm going to do a 5-1 arm. I'm going to say, yes, this is a refinance. You'll notice that it populated all my data carried over for the property value, equity, and base loan amount. My interest rate is going to be 3.25, and my term is going to be 360. And now with my loan type, I'm going to mark it ARM. So now I have that done. As I advance my screen, we come to our ARM terms. And this is what you want to build. And definitely, if you're doing ARM products, you want to develop these as templates. So let me go back a screen once. If you have an ARM product in there, go ahead and select it down. If you have a 5-1 ARM, whatever way it may be, select it down and use it as the templates to see what was provided in this screen. So my first adjustment cap, I'm going to go ahead and say it needs to adjust 5%. First adjustment month is 61. It's 1 month after is when the payment changed. 2% periodic rate thereafter. 12 months is the rate change. My maximum rate is going to be 5 above, so that's 8.125. My margin's 2.25. We have a drop down for the index of values here. So I'm doing a 1-year LIBOR. I'm coming down and I'm grabbing that here. To let you know, with this list and the drop downs, these numbers will go ahead and populate and change as they are changing day to day. So just want to be able to let you know that. And I'm putting the margin as my floor. Now to talk about worst and best. So worst case, we have the scenario down here. Worst case is taking your rate to the highest rate possible. So it will take the 5% adjustment at the first adjustment and make it to show the worst potential change in rate that the borrower can have. Best case will show you index plus margin. The rate change will change until once it gets to that fully indexed rate. So that's the best case. Best case is used for the APR on the till. The summary of boxes that you see below, that is your worst case. So those trying to understand it compared to the till, that's what those two screens, two drop-downs do. And now I know what I'm going to do for my third product. I'm going to keep a 5-1 arm. I'm keeping this as worst case. I'm going to create a second product of a 5-1 arm, and I'm going to do best case. So you can see both of the difference. We could talk about that a little bit. I do, unless you have multiple products and use all 4. But anytime you do an arm product, do it twice if you have the space. One showing worst and one showing best. Moving on, let's go ahead and put in our prepaid days of 15. And let's go into the closing cost details. And now let's go ahead and build a template from a template. So if we go ahead and bring down the fee template I just created, you'll see it drop down. That's how you use your fee templates. And if for some reason that particular loan you are using that template, you make a modification, you could go ahead and do so and just apply to loan. But in this scenario, we're going to go ahead and create a different fee template. I'm going to add a line item. I'm going to add my tax service and place that in there. I know oh, and I got survey and not tax service. There we go. Mark as APR. So that's how you would pull them down. So if you're on an enterprise account, they gave you a corporate level template that isn't custom to your branch, pull it down, make your modifications. Maybe your branch only charges $4.50 for a processing fee. You might have an additional fee for some reason. This is how you would just modify and customize it for yourself. I'm going to remove this field here. And once you have finished that, save it as a template. And then you'll have your second fee template created. So that's the quickest way of really building out your templates, your fee templates, and be able to do it quickly. I'll also show you in our settings, if you haven't gone there, the settings also has a way to create fee templates as well as copy. Just a moment, Dion has a question. Sometimes when I try to select a fee from a drop-down, it doesn't let you pick. That is actually interesting. I haven't heard that. So let's see. Let's just play around with this for a while. So you would go here, you would select it, and it doesn't populate down, or is it empty in this list? Oh, in this area here, in your drop-down? Really? I've never heard that, Dion. And it won't let you select a fee, like if I did that, it doesn't. You know what? If that happens again, can you please let us know in the support desk, email us at support, and what we could do is connect, and we can actually view it on your screen, because that does sound odd and it doesn't make sense. So something like that, let us know. Email us. Marcy's in the box today. I roll in there too. We could be able to get that for you, because that, you should be able to select it. Okay, I'm glad you asked. That's how you work it. So let's go back in and pull down our second fee template that we just created. Once you're done here, I'm going to go ahead and apply it to the loan. And you see how it did it? See how there's no prepaid escrows? So let's go ahead and put in our numbers. And then 2, and I believe I had 4 months of taxes. And remember, this is your next product template to save. So go ahead and add a product, and I'm just doing, whoops, I didn't press the wrong one. Save it as a template, come on. And just save it, and that, you could just build from that. So this is the best way of doing it. Anytime you come through here, is just always save any kind of new products. Press OK. So now let's go ahead, and what we're going to do with our third one, we have the ARM 5.1 as worse. And I'm just putting best. So the quickest, easiest way to duplicate a product is using your copy from button. When you do the copy from, you have an option of what product to copy from. Mine is going to be identical to that 5.1 ARM, so I'm selecting that product. I press OK, and you'll see how all that data carries over for you. All your ARM term data, whoops, that's what we want to change, and I pressed return too quick. So now let's change it from worst to best. And take a look. On the upper right, you have products side by side, the exact same dollar amount. Actually, it's going to stay the same, because this will affect the next change. It'll actually affect the report. So, okay, so you have all that information that copied over, all your monthly costs and everything, and you're set on your second product. So that's another way of getting through everything quickly. Okay. Any other questions before we move on? I'm just going to go ahead and leave it then at 3 products. Okay, let's go and talk about our analysis screen. So with this, first what I want to do is actually look at the report before we dive into our reinvestment strategy screen here. So let's go ahead and take a look at our presentation. You see how I go ahead and hover my mouse over presentation, and I have 2 pop-out screens above. I'm going to select preview, and it takes me to the last screen. That's our last screen in Edge. It's quick when you move around. I'm putting in today's date, and let's take a look at our report. Okay, you can see how this is the current mortgage. You can see how on the interest rate, all the different ones you'll be able to point out. Highest payment is your current mortgage. They're saving $150 a month on the fixed and $351 on the ARM. Did it save best? Oh, this is perfect. I'm glad I did it. So now I'll be able to show you. Everything is identical. You'll see how our products here, our 5.1 products are exactly the same, even though we did best and worse. Why is that? The reason is you are showing 60 months in our short-term area. And when you show 60 months, the rate hasn't changed until the 61st month. And that's where you'll start seeing the differences between those 2 products. So let's go ahead and go into the system, and let's change that short-term area. So let's go into Edge, go to the analysis screen, and let's change our short-term number of months. I'm going to put it out at 7 years, so let's put in 84 months. And now take a look at the numbers right below. Now you'll see how the numbers have changed. Let's go ahead and take a look at our report. I had, oh, just to show you why isn't my report changed, my numbers haven't changed, it's because I didn't advance the screen. That's the save feature within the system. And so once you save the screen, you saw that bounce and the change occurred. So now the highest cost is has the most savings here. So let's take a look. Let's go in here. And you have your interest and MI paid over the life of the loan. Then you have your closing points. Ah, now I know why. You guys have to, why it's so low. I couldn't figure out that, but I got it now. You'll see how the interest in MI paid is at $57.94. And you'll see how it's at 84 for the 5-1 and its worst case. But that's quite a bit lower than that conventional fix, and we did have an adjustment. Oh, highlighting. Let me show you, Susan. What's happening here is our fully indexed rate for, let's go into our 5-1 best. Our fully indexed rate is 2.25 plus 0.625. So with that, the total amount is 2.872. That's what it's going to. You had I had put in the rate as a premium, and therefore it moved downward because it's the best case. It's a lower interest rate, lower payment. That's why you have such a great savings in this area. So be able to point that out. The way I'm highlighting, Susan, is anywhere on your report, the preview or an Edge Live report, you'll see a clear all button in the bottom. That way you know it is your report to work with. You highlight. I'm just going over a field. You'll notice that the field is outlined in blue, the cell, and I left click. It's that easy. If you go to the title and click the title, the whole column highlights. And you hit the clear all, it clears out all the highlights at once. You can also choose a graphic and highlight the graph as well. When you work with Edge Live, you'll be able to change the colors as you're talking about each product, and they'll be able to see that change as well on their screen. So we'll talk a little bit about Edge Live in a moment. So let's go work in the reinvestment strategy screen. So I showed you on ARM loans, always make sure you take it out after that rate adjustment. Otherwise, it will just be a fixed rate loan at that low rate. But with me, ARM loans are great because look at this. If that person was staying in the house for 5 years, how much money they would save, or in 7 years. You can see on that ARM loan. But again, ARM loans are unpredictable during that change. But if they're moving within 5 years, I definitely offer them, show them that ARM loan because with that interest rate, they're great. Let's go to Edge. Let's go into analysis screen, and let's work on that reinvestment strategy. So a couple places you can work with this in the reduction payment, or if they don't want to apply any savings toward principal, they just don't want to do it, they want to build savings account, you can show them that as well. Up at the top, you have their green areas here. That's the saving amount over that current mortgage. So what I'll do is show you how you can apply it to the principal. So I take the 149 and place it in here. What that does now is provide you a new freedom point. So if you apply that additional 150, I'll be applying the same monthly amount that I did with my current mortgage. I'll have this paid off in 24.7 years. If I'm on the same track, it's 25.92 years. So you're definitely saving, you know, if you did apples to apples, and you can really show them apples to apples. So, but maybe they don't want to apply it to principal, and they want to apply it to an investment account. So say they had an investment account and it's at 3% interest rate, might be higher, and then apply that amount down here. And with that, you'll see how much money they will have at the end of that 15-year. This is the long-term number. So it'll be able to show them, you'll be able to save $34,000. So that's another way to be able to show them how that they're creating wealth by refinancing out and making that savings of $150 a month. Another option, what you could do is you have your ARM. This one's $350. You can actually split it if you want. They only want to apply $150 to the loan amount, and then you could put one. 200. I'm so bad, guys. Sorry. You could go ahead and put in 200 down in this area, and you split that amount and be able to show, by putting 200. Here's the amount in 15 years, and here's our freedom point. Now let's talk about this button here, Adjust with ARM. What this will do is it will take, I put in 150 in here. We'll take that out and we'll play it over here. Let's put the full amount in here, and I'm going to adjust with the ARM. What that is telling me, and this is actually going to work on the best case, what that will do is at the first rate change date, it's then going to look at your payment. So say if the payment went up for some reason $500 at that rate adjustment, you're applying that $351 each month. If you have this box marked, what it will do is look at this number and compare it to the difference in your payment increase. So if it increased 500, you're applying 350, the system's going to remove it because now you're applying that principal towards your ARM loan because the payment's higher. And same with the other, if the payment gets lower, it's going to apply more money. So that's how that adjust with the ARM button works. The other thing I want to show is if you had MI or one lump sum payments. If you double click on that field, you could go ahead and customize when you want to apply principal. If you might know that in 2 years you'll have a raise, you definitely want to do, apply more. So you could go ahead and say, I want to do 300 at this point, or just play with it. You can even then say, okay, I don't plan, at 60 months, I don't want to do any more. So I put these two lines in here showing you can put a certain dollar amount at a specific time, and if you ever want to stop it, you just put the time you want to stop it and you place it at a 0, and that this is telling the system, do not apply any more money toward principal. So you have it like this. If you wanted to remove it, you just press the delete button here, or add a line. Again, if you have MI, it will tell you the number of months here and how much was the last payment of MI. So say I had MI on the 84th month it dropped, 84, and then I would apply that MI amount here. And then for the remaining loan, instead of the MI being just lost, it is now being applied to principal. And then if you're doing purchase transactions, and they know once they sell the house within the year they're going to apply $100,000 to the loan amount. You could show that as well. Okay, I have a couple questions. Jim. Jim is asking, let's go ahead and clear this out just one moment. So if you have any other questions on the reduction, go ahead and put that in the box. Let's close this out before I adjust. And if you do have a first and a second, it will, you do have the option to have it applied to, there's another checkbox on the second. It will apply to the second. We don't have an automatic rollover. I was just thinking that would actually be a cool idea. Once this is paid off, then it will then start doing the adjustment here. But basically, you'll have the same thing like you have here. You'll know when it's paid off the month. Then you could take this dollar amount and then apply the month and then put that dollar figure in here, and it will go ahead and take that savings from the second lien and apply it to principal on the first. Or you could put that, the remainder of that second lien dollar amount and put in a savings account as well. So once you have learned when that cutoff period is and the loan's paid off, apply that money, that payment, and go into custom at that point in time and continue onward. Okay, Kim? Yeah, okay. Let me show this to you. Okay, Jim, you got that. Great. Kim's asking, in the reduction payment screen, do you have an ending date for the 100,000 example? Let me show you how you do that. Let's go into this one. So just double click, and you'll get in there and play around. So number of months. I'm doing at month 10, I'm applying 100,000. Then what you're going to have to do, Kim, is on month 13, apply 0. And that stops it. If you don't, it's going to do $100,000 every month. And unless they have that money, otherwise, always zero it out. So, and that works with anything. If they're applying a certain amount of money, they don't want to apply it after a certain time period. You just zero it out. So, okay. So right now we have our arm adjusting here. Let's put the split 150 here. And then we have the savings on the fixed going into the investment account. So any other questions before we go out of here? And we're going to look at the report to see what we have done. So, okay, so I'm going to say okay. Always remember, advance the screen. And let's take a while. That was quick. You'll notice now we have a reduction payment line, and you can see that dollar amounts in there. And now let's go check it out through our more info. Reinvestment strategy tab. And you can highlight in this screen as well, and I encourage you to do so because that way they'll be able to see what you've been doing and see it rather quickly and easily. So let's just one moment, let's go in and talk about this. And doing a lot of highlights. So here we are, we have our deduction principal. You'll notice we're not doing any on the conventional because we put it in our investment account. 5-1 ARM, we have the 150, a new freedom point. And on this product, if you have it, and it'll be paid off in less than 20 years. So it's pretty cool. Like with ARM loans, you could do so much in the training and the reinvestment strategy. And, you know, if they want to get that loan paid off with that low interest rate, it's good. And it's a great way of educating. If you have a shy client that doesn't want to go into ARMs, you could really show them through Edge and Edge Live on how to do that. So let me take this report and let's talk about Edge Live. Has anyone used Edge Live? Let's go ahead and see a raise of hands. Okay, I don't have one hand. No one used Edge Live? Oh my gosh! Okay, let's go for it. There's a couple ways of doing this. So I'm going directly from presentation up to preview. You can use preview, or let's click on the generate link just to show you another item. Always remember, this is the link that's going to be copied and pasted in an email. So just to let you know. So you have that. And Edge Live, just to let you know, you do have an Edge Live button. It's exactly the same as your preview button. You'll notice it's a clear all button right at the base. It's the same button. You can highlight, do everything. So just want to acknowledge that. Now let me go ahead and close out a couple of these. And I'm pasting that link just like I would paste it in my email to send it to the borrower. Now, with the borrower's copy and they use that link, the first thing they're going to do is see the disclosure text that appears. And before they view the report, they have to click I understand. Now, take a look. When I take my my mouse over the field, it's not being outlined. The cell's not outlined in blue. If I click, it is not highlighting. This is the borrower's copy, and they shouldn't be able to highlight, and they shouldn't be able to edit. So that's the reason there. So let's go ahead and disconnect this tab here. And let me set up my screen so I have both reports side by side. Come on. I think this is always the harder part, is just setting up the screen. So just one moment. And what you could do when you're working with Edge Live, as you're getting familiar, if you have two screens, the best is put it one on each screen. Or, and then also, if you have someone in the office, send them the link, call them, talk them through the report. Great way. They will have good questions probably. They're in the industry to be able to work with you. Another is a friend, family member. Send them the link and just work with it. And it works on the mobile device as well. So as you drive the presentation, it will drive it on the That is great, Kelly. Kelly says, send it to your own mother. If she understands it, then others will too. That's perfect, Kelly. Good. Okay, so the difference, notice the bottom, right-hand side, no clear all, left-hand side, clear all. So let's start clearing it out, and let's work with Edge Live. You're talking to your client, and you want to let them know that they're working, provided a fixed rate, an ARM worst, and an ARM best. you'll see how everything I'm highlighting, the right-hand side's mimicking me. It's doing the presentation. I'm driving that report. So now let's clear it all out, and it'll clear out all the highlights. Now, say I just want to talk about interest rates. See how that's pretty cool? You could focus just on your interest rates. What about the cash to close? Want to check out that payment stream? You could talk to them about that. You could discuss on the ARMs why it's the adjustments are made, what's happening here versus what's happening here. I know that goes into a lot of depth, but some people, you know, I personally like to dive into ARM loans, so you have that information. And I know I'm the odd one. More info, discuss their payment breakdown. Just be able to tell them, well, your P&I payment is this amount, and then you'll have your monthly costs. So isn't that cool? You're driving the report for the borrower. So you're on the phone with them, and you will be able to drive all the information and be able to drive the report. Open up that more info button. Let's go in the reinvestment strategy. They don't want to see any of those reduction payments. So take a look at what I'm going to do. First, let's clear it out. And I'm highlighting the 3 lines so you can see. So if I go into Edge, close this out, go into my analysis screen, into the reinvestment strategy, and I'm just removing the amounts being applied to principal. Press OK. Remember, always advance your screen. That triggers the save. Now let's take a look and see how it updates both reports. So because I removed the reduction of payment, it removed that field here. And you'll notice the right-hand side cleared out before my report. So you can see how you can add products, you could change your down payment, you could change the interest rate. So depending on your conversation with the borrower is what you're going to be able to do in Edge Live. And that's really great because if you provide them 5% down, you find out they have a little extra money. Maybe they won't show them while you're on the phone. Well, if you put 10% down, this is what it will look. And this is the short-term as well as the long-term savings factors. So definitely get into Edge Live, work with it. Next time you're on next week's call, I'm going to ask again, and I expect to have a lot of hands on there that you guys have used Edge Live. So anything else you want to really cover before I start doing kind of wrap up, that type of items? Has everyone, do you use video? Okay, so yes, Jim had a good point about Edge Live and the email link. And let me check out, I got 2 Jims. Another Jim. Okay, we'll come in. Jim Rice is asking, when you create a portfolio of Edge reports, can they be searched without specific access? What I'll do is at the end, and let me see if I can answer your, Jim, when we go into that search engine, because I'm not sure which way you're going about that, but I will address that one afterwards. And yes, so now going back to Edge Live. Yeah, it is so cool, live. So with Edge Live, what you're going to do, let's go back to Edge. Let me get that screen bigger. Oh, wait. Okay. So let's go to our presentation screen. Click on Generate Link. So you're going to be emailing the borrower the link. So what you normally do, a lot of times you might have an email, you're sending them the, here's your payment, here's your rate, the loan amount. What you would do instead, and we have some great scripting, so afterwards remind me and I'll show you where that is on the report, email templates and stuff. So you just copy this, copy your link, and just place it in the email. When they click on the link, it will open directly to the report. If they're using a mobile device, it will then direct them to the App Store to download Mortgage Coaches app. Then they could click on the link and use that. And again, take it, download the app, and so you'll be able to view it. So you would click that and send it, and then the borrower would then have the report open. Another thing I want to point out to you is, see the viewer, one viewer down here? That's telling me that because I have my report open, it's letting me know someone is viewing my report. And over to the right-hand side, I wanted to be able to get my link to my report real quick, so I'm clicking on the share button. I'm copying that link, and I'm placing it in the chat box. So go ahead and click on that link, and you'll also be able to see that the number of viewers is going to change based on those who are viewing that report. And by also clicking on that link, you'll be able to see me as I'm driving the report, so you can actually see how that is, how that works for people. So definitely, and that's what the whole point of creating these reports is, just not to have the happy, have nice visuals and a graph. It's to use EdgeLive. It's to be able to use with your borrower to help them make that decision which loan option is the best. So I hope that answered your question, Jim, on how to send the report out, but I'll also point out some other video tutorials and information. So there you go. Okay, so let's go ahead now. I'm going to stop with EdgeLive unless anyone has any other questions. Let's go back into Edge. Kelly says, my mother will have a long afternoon, so you're going to be working with her, huh? Once you're done, you'll definitely have that EdgeLive down. So searching, Jim, back to the search, view all. Here's how you could search any kind of reports. If you know the borrower's name, you can place any part of this information in, and it will search the reports for your record. If I don't put anything in there like I'm doing now, it will provide you every report that you have created within Edge. Not only in the search engine, if you notice, you can search by friendly name field too. So if you use that, you'll be able to search by that way. So, so you have that information. So I hope, Jim, did that answer your question? If not, just go ahead and let me know. Both view all buttons for open house flyers as well as the TCA have that search engine. So next, what I want you to do is click on Help, and let's go check out those Josh Metal coaching calls that I want to point out. This is our knowledge base. If you have any questions, this is a great walkthrough for your reinvestment strategy. You'll be able to have a video tutorial on that. One's a direct link and one's a download. There's also on here is our coaching call archive. So I'm clicking on our coaching call archive, and if we move down, Josh Metal, this call right here, if you're new and want to be able to get some more information about how to send the reports out, his is a great call to listen to. It's one of our Tuesday coaching calls that we had. And then that Thursday following, I followed and talked about the scripting to that. So if you want to watch these two in conjunction with each other, that would also help you with learning how to be able to provide that information. But let me just click on Josh Metal's call real quick. Stop them. What I want to do is point out we've also provided other information with this call, because during the call they're asking you to do homework and providing you more information to be able to help. So you have a homework page here. They're asking you, what is your mortgage coach why? Why use Mortgage Coach? And that goes in conjunction with that Josh Metal call. And it's great to listen to, because it took him a while to start Edge, and once you start, he does it on every loan now. So you have information here to be able to use. MC scripting. You also have some scripts here if you want to be able to use. Be able to provide that, Mr. and Mrs., the email options to be able to send. So we get a lot of people asking. So these are a good model to be able to use for your scripting aspect. Okay, Susan's asking how to delete a scenario. So let's go back to Edge. It's in that view all, and to let you know, some of you who are on enterprise accounts might not have a delete button because they removed it. It would be here. You would highlight, there's a gray arrow on the right or left-hand side. You'd find all your files here. You have an option to copy analysis. You could keep it in that current file or create a new file if you want. If you have, you would highlight the file. If you want to delete it, you would delete it here. If you don't have a delete button, it's because you're on an enterprise account and they have locked it out and they want to keep everything for records just for internal audits. So that's how you would delete it. But you know, you have a FHA conventional product, you have certain products already out there that as a template, You can always copy, start it as a new client. It would have the product templates. You just modify the loan amount and things. So you do have that copy function. It works great with open house flyers because this is how you copy, and you don't have to key in that upload the logo, image, and contact information. So remember, we do have that copy feature in here, and it works great with the open house flyers. Okay, everyone, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to be wrapping it up. Again, if you have any kind of questions, Dion, remember for that drop-down, email us at support. I'm curious why it's not allowing you to select. And if anyone has questions, please email us at support. Anything you want to see next week, also email us. I want to be able to show you options in Edge that you want to be able to learn and want to be able to know well. With that, everyone, thank you so much for attending. Make sure you sign up for our coaching calls on Tuesday, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for attending.